Hey guys, how are you doing? Great to see you. Come on in. Happy Monday. Might be on your lunch break right now. Grab your snacks, grab your coffee, grab whatever you're grabbing cuz it's time to talk some politics. How you doing? Welcome back. Happy Monday to each and every one of you. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I had a good weekend. I am not complaining, but you know what? There is so much to talk about. So let's get into it. Hey. So, the very first thing I want to do before I jump into the nitty gritty of what's going on right now in the political realm is to say once again, thank you. Let me put my microphone up so y'all can hear me. Thank you to my Facebook crew. You guys have been killing it over there. I have been more intentional about posting more content this year, and it has been paying off over in Facebook. I have grown by 50,000 followers over there just since January. So thank you so much for my Facebook crew. Over on Instagram, you guys have more than doubled where we were when we first started off the year. So thank you over on Instagram. Y'all are killing it. So I'm super duper proud of that. And I want to thank you for being that guy and that girl for me. Okay. I appreciate you guys. All right. So let's get right on into what we're going to talk about today. So the very first thing I want to talk about is the fact that Trump keep with the punk. Trump is a punk. How about say that? Trump. Good Lord. Trump is a punk. All right. He has once again shown his punkery. All right. In that he is chickened out once again. The taco be tacoing, right? Trump always chickens out. And his latest example of chickening out has been with the latest deadline that he set that he's once again missed. You remember just a couple of days ago, he told Iran, you have 48 hours to open up the Strait of Hormuz or I'm going to take out all of your electrical facilities. You will be in total darkness, okay? That deadline is really supposed to be up today. And he's already come up to say, oh, you know what? We're going to give you 5 more days. We had some great progress in talks over the weekend. Guess what? Trump. He claimed that they've had some great progress in talks over the weekend. And therefore, he's going to extend the deadline another 5 days. And guess what? Iran has already come out to say, that's a lie. That's a lie. We haven't been talking to your ass over the weekend. And, I wouldn't be surprised because this is the person who did the very same type of tactics with the tariffs, causing havoc on a worldwide scale with his just ridiculousness back and forth on tariffs. That also not only has been causing, wreaking havoc on the global economy, especially when he first started with that mess, but just think about businesses right here in this country that have suffered because of it and successfully won a lawsuit against him to end the foolishness in the Supreme Court, in which he turned around and tried it under another ruse, under another law. But the bottom line is this is his tactic. And what it shows us is he has no strategy. His complete strategy for this war is to threaten. And it's not just threatening Iran, it's threatening the potential allies that he has, specifically insulted now for years, NATO allies. And now that he needs them, he's trying to threaten them and insult them into helping him. He doesn't understand. He has zero diplomatic ability. Let's just say that. He has zero diplomatic ability. He's surrounded himself with people who also either have zero diplomatic ability or the only ability that they have is the ability to figure out how they can do something that is self-interested for themselves so that they can make money, a la Jared Kushner. Hey there, how you doing, Mark? Great to see you. And so we don't have the professionals who would have advised him not to do this shit in the first place. I mean, there's a reason why president after president after president after president before him said, we may not want to do that. But because he's an ignoramus that is easily manipulated by Netanyahu, he went ahead in there, guns a-blazing, not understanding apparently the implications of his actions, or just not caring. You just had someone from his administration said, well, the only thing that's going to really be impacted over the long term might be, like consumers. And that's okay. Consumers, that's you. Okay. That is you. And so here we are at the top of the fourth week of this foolishness. Gas prices have gone up in this country 24% in 4 freaking weeks. The national average is now right around $4 per gallon. Thank you, Trump. Taco Trump strikes again. And so here he goes with these empty threats, thinking that that's going to punk somebody out. The Iranians have shown you they're about that life. Okay. They're not scared of you. They are prepared. And now you're sitting here clutching your pearls, mad because they lied about the ability for their rockets to go over a certain length. They lied about how far their rockets could be launched to. Well, do you want them to tell the truth about that? Would you be divulging your military secrets? I mean, it just amazes me the level of stupidity. Are you running around the world telling your military secrets? Hello? How would that help them be able to properly protect their citizens if they're around here telling the world their military secrets? You ain't telling yours. Hell, Israel hadn't even admitted yet that they have nuclear bombs until, it seems as if Iran knew it and got precariously close to taking out their main facility. And now everybody's clutching their pearls like, we didn't know they could do that. Well, had you not gone out here guns a-blazing doing some stupidness, you wouldn't have everybody could have had their own little secrets, and thousands of more people would still be alive. But here we are. So we're going to see what's going to happen 5 days from now. But I'm going to take a wild guess. I will take a wild guess and say he's going to come up with some other cockamamie excuse as to why he's not going to do what he said he's going to do. And he'll probably lie again to say that Iran is in some wonderful, great diplomatic talks with them. Let's be clear. It's not that I want them to take out the electrical grid. I think that would be horrible. All right. But I also think it's important that we realize that they didn't understand what they were doing when they started this war. They still haven't admitted to why they started the war. They haven't been clear about what their goals are in terms of what they would need to achieve in order to end this war. They're just sitting here clearly playing it by ear. And this is just another example of that. Iran has already told you that they don't trust your ass, that you were involved in negotiations with them. And in fact, they had given you an even better deal than they gave Obama, knowing how completely obsessed you are with Obama. They intentionally gave you a better deal with Obama, thinking that that would be sufficient for you in order to be able to move forward with diplomatic relations and avoid this war. But in the middle of those discussions, you guys decided y'all wanted to start bombing. You guys decided you wanted to kill their supreme leader, not only their political leader, but their religious leader. You guys have now decided that you wanted to go ahead and kill the guy that was negotiating with you. You decided that that was a good idea. And now you wanted to sit there and think and say, oh, my bad. Let's start negotiating again. Hell, I'm not surprised they don't want to negotiate with your ass. So we're in this quagmire. Oil prices are continuing to surge. Trump is saying, oh, well, let's lift sanctions off Iran's oil. Guess what? Iran said, we ain't selling that shit to you, dumbass. We ain't selling it to you. So, they're already selling it to China. China's like, hey, we ain't missing nothing. So, instead, you're sitting here helping Russia by taking their sanctions off, having this sort of game that you're playing, this gamesmanship that you're playing, that I believe that you're doing, specifically trying to manipulate the markets by making this big to-do out of the fact that you want to take Iran, the person that you're involved, the country that you're involved with a war in right now, that you want to take away their sanctions so that even if they were to sell it to you, what's the goal here? The goal here is to give the country that you are engaged in war in the ability to make even more money to kick your ass? Under what paradigm does that even make sense? So this is the level of ridiculousness that we're dealing with right now. Number one. Number two, let's just call a thing a thing. I think we need to be very clear right now about the possibility of a potential draft at some point in the future. And I'm talking about this way early. So, don't say that, hey, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm not saying that I know anything that you guys don't know. I'm just making logical leaps given the way this has gone so far. We know that they are now in the process of sending a few thousand Marines to that area. They are likely going to target the island off of the coast of Iran, an area that they produce much of their oil, the majority of their oil, and try to take that. But here's what we also know. America does not have a good track record when it comes to ground wars. Yeah, we can bomb people into oblivion, absolutely. But we aren't able to, you can't really win a war like this only with air power, only with air supremacy. I mean, how long, how many times do we have to make the same mistake over and over and over again before we realize that, that it doesn't make any sense? We are literally repeating what we did in Iraq. Did it work there? No. And then it ain't going to work here. And guess what? Iran is a gabillion times bigger than Iraq ever was. Spatially, it's much bigger. It has a much larger population. It has a well-trained military force. And clearly they outsmarting your dumb ass because they're sitting here shooting up like, what is it, $50,000 drones that you guys are having to spend millions of dollars per vehicle, like that you're sending, per missile that you're sending in order to shoot the drones down. So for every $50,000 that they're spending in drones to shoot each one down, the missile that you're using is costing $1 million. The math ain't mathing over the long term, which, there we go again. That gets us to the math and the money situation. So the Pentagon has been very quiet recently about how much money they've spent on this war. In the first 6 days, they admitted to spending $12 billion on this war. Just take a minute for your brain to sort of encapsulate that. $12 billion down the drain in 6 days for a war that they refuse to call a war, for reasons that continue to change. Like, we still don't know the reason that they admit to. I believe, honestly, that Marco Rubio was correct and they just had to pull his ass back. I think the only reason why we're there is because, in essence, Netanyahu told Trump to do it, and Trump was too much of a jackass, an idiot, to realize he was being finessed, and he went ahead and did it. So now we're here. They didn't have enough. Either the best minds in the room have already, months ago, were already fired or left because they saw the incompetence that was in the Defense Department, or what few that are left, they just refuse to listen to, because any elementary school child could have told you just by looking at the map that Strait of Hormuz was going to be the first thing that they were going to do in terms of closing that up. But the fool thought that either they weren't going to do it or that he was going to be so overwhelming that they'd open it up. He don't know who he messing with. So here we go. 4 weeks in, everybody here is seeing it at the gas pump. And it's not going to go down anytime soon. Plus, you idiots had the great idea to bomb various different oil facilities already in Iran. After which they was like, okay, bet. That's what we doing. So now they bombing all over around them in terms of their neighbors. So you're going to take ours out. We're going to take y'all's out too. Let me just tell you, let me explain to you that helps nobody in the long run, because now that leads to the lower ability for production, not only for today, but for the future. Do you think that if this war ended tomorrow, they'd be able to snap their fingers and rebuild all of that capacity? No. What I'm telling you right now is that what these fools have already done have, in fact, put into place a situation where we are destined to have skyrocketing oil prices, gas prices for months, even after this shit is finished, because these idiots have gone after the infrastructure for producing oil in Iran, which caused them to also retaliate by going after the infrastructure of their neighbors, who they see as, and you know, it kind of is true, aiding and abetting their enemies. All right. So here we are. We're screwed up financially, but that's what he did. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. I'm advising all my grandkids, nephews refuse to go. Why should Black kids fight for races? Timothy, you are exactly right. Going back to the draft. I'm so glad you brought me back on point, because Lord have mercy, sometimes I'm just kind of squirrel. I got ADD, y'all. So be patient with me. Sometimes I do that. I start with the point here and I end up with the point there. That's what I wanted to talk about. Draft. I agree with you. I completely agree with you, Timothy. As Black people, we have given this country more than enough of our blood. We've given this country more than enough of our blood. We know in history there have been Black people who have fought in every single war that has occurred on these shores, including the Revolutionary War. First person to get killed in the Revolutionary War was a Black man, Crispus Attucks. We also know that there would be no America had it not be for the Negro regiments. The reality is that the Union Army was getting its ass kicked. It's not like Lincoln was this great liberator. Lincoln, for as long as he could, tried to avoid allowing Black people to fight in the Civil War, even though they wanted to fight for their own freedom. And it really took Frederick Douglass continuously going to him time and time and time again to convince him to allow Black people to fight, because they wanted to fight. He didn't say yes until it became very apparent that they were getting their asses kicked. And then it became very apparent they were getting their asses kicked. Then he agreed to allow Black people to enroll. You had the Negro regiments. Frederick Douglass even lost some of his sons in that war. But overall, the Negro regiments helped to turn the tide of the war, leading to the overall victory by the Union Army. Trust and believe there would be no America without the Black people who fought in the Civil War in order to make sure that the Union side won. And when I say Black people, I mean Black people, men and women. Harriet Tubman was the first woman in our history to lead a regiment in battle, and she won. All right, so I want y'all to understand, we fought for our freedom. Nobody gave us that shit. We fought for it every step of the way. All right. Now you even get past the civil rights, the Civil War, and every other war, obviously, after that. You had Black men fighting in World War II, only to come back home to get lynched in their uniforms. I mean, this is our history. So if you ask me, I completely agree with you. We have given this country more than enough of our blood. Absolutely right. Now, in terms of what I am concerned may happen, here is why I'm concerned that there would be a potential draft. As I said, they are not going to be able to, quote unquote, win this war. Although I don't think they're going to win this war. We didn't win Iraq. We didn't win Afghanistan. We didn't win Vietnam. I mean, when is the last time we actually won a war outside of World War II? When is the last time we actually won a war by ourselves? Meaning that a couple of things. This could very well be the beginning of the Third World War. I think that we are well on the way there, given the number of countries that are already involved, given the range of the missiles that Iran has now shown us, which it seems that they have the capability potentially of hitting some European countries. So I don't think that it's far-fetched at all to say that World War III has already started. It's just a matter of time before it gets officially designated as such. I would also say that, as I mentioned, Iran is a massive piece of geography. It is a massive, massive, massive space that is encircled by very treacherous mountains. It has obviously waterways. And so it is a very difficult space to be able to literally attack on foot, not to mention having millions of soldiers ready for this, waiting for this, having been prepared for this. Y'all, this is what used to be called Persia. The Persians have been kicking ass for eons. Let's just recognize that fact. All right. So the fact that this, but I wouldn't expect this fool to know that, because Lord knows he don't read. And he's got the brain cells of a cockroach. I mean, I just can't. So now we're in this mess. We're in this quagmire with people who are smarter than you, who are better armed than you even thought that they were, because we know how bullies are. They thought they could do it because they didn't think they had the capabilities to fight back in the way that they are fighting back. And now that they are showing their capability, they shocked. People who have a better strategy for you, who understand than you, who understand the concept of asymmetric warfare, that understands how to leverage economic pressure in order to make you hurt more than they are hurting. They're like, hey, we've been here. We know what it's like to live in very dire circumstances on next to nothing. But hey, y'all don't. Y'all are fat and comfy over there. If we twist your, balls enough with this economic power that we have with regards to our ability to manage or cut off oil flows, eventually you're going to get so much pressure put on you at home by your citizens, you're going to have to pull out. I mean, that's just plain strategy, y'all. You have been outsmarted, Donald Trump. I know it don't take much to outsmart him. But this is a clear example of how they have been outsmarted. And here we are dealing with the repercussions of that. So because the land is so vast, the population is so large, the military readiness is really, extremely powerful. Any ground war that may happen as a result of this stuff that Trump has done to start this mess is going to honestly, it's going to honestly end up in massive casualties on the American side and on the Israeli side and on any other sides that try to get in this mess on their behalf. And God forbid that China decides that it wants to get directly involved even any more than it already has by helping them with parts and things that they need in order to be able to fight the war, or that Russia decides that it wants to get even more involved, even over and above the involvement that it already has with regards to giving them intel in terms of where they can find American assets across the region. Okay. I mean, this could go really bad, really fast. This will not be easy. I am concerned that if they decide to send in ground troops, it's going to be a long slog. It could literally be months, years that we're there, in the same way that we were with Iraq. And I would also argue that the casualties would be much higher than it was in Iraq. As a result, I believe that this administration would strongly consider implementing a draft, because for years we have not met the targets that our military has for recruitment. For years, they have under-recruited. They've even let the reduced the qualifications that they've had in the past for recruitment. And I'm not even talking about quote unquote like mental qualifications. I'm talking about physical qualifications. You know what I mean? Like, you could be not the most fit person, okay? And, and they'd still say yes. So I'm just saying we don't have our best and strongest fighting force that we've had in recent years, just because fewer people are going into the armed services and their standards have been going down in order to be able to attract more people. So we don't have enough folk to fight an army like what Iran has. I truly believe that we are at risk of potentially having a draft called that would put many of our young people, even more of our young people, in danger. People have already been injured. Hundreds of people have already been injured. They will at least admit to over a dozen who have already been killed. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. And this fool over here playing, chicken with these threats that mean nothing, because everybody knows, given his reputation, that he always just shoots out wild threats that he always backs off from. And he's just done it again right now. Instead of having a serious diplomatic approach that could resolve this problem, though I have to tell you, it's going to be really hard, because once you have undermined trust in the way that they have, both times that Iran has been struck, this time and the one in which it happened several months ago, the attacks started while they were at the negotiation table. That's what they don't want to tell you on your evening news. All right. Both times that they have been struck, the bombs started falling while they were at the negotiation table. So if that is the case, why would I even trust your ass to go back again? This is the problem that we're facing. And Trump keeps trying to say it's about to end. It's about to end. We're going to wind it down. We're going to just, bruh, it ain't over until they say it's over. You can sit there and say it's over all you want, but if they decide they don't want to open up the straits, they ain't opening it up. If they decide they want to keep sending missiles over to Israel, where they have completely compromised their Iron Dome, guess what? They're going to keep shooting that shit. Y'all are in deep shit right now. And everybody around the world knows it, including those allies that you have completely sort of ostracized by your antics over the past several months. Nobody cares about helping your ass. Nobody wants to help you. And deservedly so. All right. So let's see what you guys are saying. I agree, Thomas. Send the MAGA people over there. Jeffrey has, I think, hit the nail on the head right here. He says, Trump is not a deep thinker and is not a politician. He is way out of his pay grade and has no one in his cabinet that is a serious foreign expert. Bingo. Absolutely freaking true, Jeffrey. And I can see right now, it looks like you are a serviceman. Thank you for your service. I can tell you right now, you're exactly right. Anyone that was a serious foreign policy expert, they fired. And did y'all see how he treated what is his name? The former head of the FBI yesterday when it came out that he died. I mean, it's just horrible. I'm glad you're dead. It's very interesting. It's very interesting that he would say that. It's as if he's not gonna die. As if he's not gonna die one day. Like, we are all human beings. None of us gonna live forever. Trust and believe there's gonna be dancing in the street when your bloated ass goes, because the way he acts is disgusting. All right. But then again, let me keep going. He is vile, Stacey. You're exactly right, Soror. He's just vile, nasty. The older I get, the more I realize, as human beings like you guys, we don't, it is not our nature to be like that. And so it is completely shocking when we see behavior like that, because never in a million years would we even think of being that cold and cold-hearted and nasty and evil. Robert Mueller, that's his name, Robert Mueller. But the older I get, the more I see this. Very basic. There are good people in this world, and there are evil people in this world. And if you're a good person, and honestly, people tend to attract like people, right? So good people tend to attract friends and family. Their friends and family are typically also good. Okay. Also, because if they are in a place, if you're like me and you're a little, you can sort of sense energies. If you're in a space where you can sense from a person that they're not, then you extricate yourself from that situation. You don't engage with that person. You don't spend time with that person. Like I guard my peace like it's Fort Knox. And if I get a sense that you are an asshole, I'm not going to work. I'm not going to spend my time with you. I'm not going to work with you. Even if you're a potential client, I ain't got time for that. All money ain't good money. Okay. So it's like, I don't have in my world people that have that nasty, evil interior. Like I don't interact with those folks. So if you create a world like that you live your life like that, where you are surrounded by like energy, which is kind, which is empathetic, which is caring, which is just at base a good person. When you are confronted with evil that is elevated on a worldwide scale to the degree that, Trump is, it's shocking to you because that is not a normal part of what you experience in your life. But here's one thing that we need to recognize as good people: evil exists. And just as there are good people in the world, there are evil people. Trump is that. Like only an evil person would have that come out of his mouth. The Epstein files, full of evil people. I mean, evil. If you just take a minute and just read a couple of those things, it would blow your mind because you're like, why would anybody even think of doing that? Evil. So we just need to realize that this world is filled with not only good people, but also evil people. And what's really sad and disgusting is when an evil person is put into a position of power and they're evil, they're put into a position of power. And if you're like him, you're narcissistic. So you only care about you, which is a whole other level to your evilness. You are a psychopath, meaning that I believe that he gets pleasure out of inflicting pain. I believe that Pete Hegseth is the same way. In addition to being an obvious white supremacist, I mean, he has a white supremacist tattoo on his chest, and you just see what he's done since he's been there and things that he has said. So you have all of these evil people in positions of power. It is unsurprising to me that we are in this position. You have Hegseth, speaking about him some more, basically admitting on a worldwide stage that we are not going to be limited to the rules of war. We are going to unapologetically commit human rights violations in terms of how we are going to implement this war. Although, why should we be even surprised? Because he's been committing human rights violations since he's been in that place in terms of bombing the fishermen all over Caribbean. See, here's the challenge. They're evil people. They get some sort of sadistic pleasure. I believe both Trump and Hegseth get some type of sadistic pleasure out of killing, including killing innocents, which has not only led to the deaths of those 170 some little girls in Iran on the very first day of school. I saw this stat recently that since the war has been taking place, let me get the number right, you guys. There has been over 1,000 children killed in the first 3 weeks of the war. And we're just now entering week 4. A time in which they have now asked for $200 billion more dollars to carry on this evil quest for another 4 weeks. Okay, so there's so much that's packed in that. I want to talk about what they're doing. They're over there doing double taps in civilian spaces. What is a double tap? A double tap is when you, and they did this to the school, mind you. A double tap is when you drop an initial bomb. So you have initial casualties that are associated with that. And then you wait a few minutes for rescue workers, healthcare workers, people to come to the aid of the folks who were just hit in this building. And then you hit the same location again in order to kill the people that have come there to help. Think about that. That is disgusting. Hegseth has already said, yeah, we down with it. We down with it. And you have this fool out here spending money like a drunken sailor. Now, we don't even know how much they spent up until now. They've only admitted to spending, as if this is a little bit, they've only admitted to spending $12 billion in the first 6 days of the war. Mind you, we're going in the 4th week. So they have not released any numbers of what happened between day 7 and now. But they are now going to Congress asking for $200 billion more, not 200 million, y'all. Just get your brain around that. $200 billion more. You're exactly right. War crimes. $200 billion more to carry on this war for another 4 weeks. And you have Hegseth at his press conference talking about, well, it costs money to kill people. This is what we're dealing with. And while he's doing that, let me also remind you that this fool, and let me pull up this because I wrote this down so I would not forget the exact numbers, okay? Hegseth in September spent $93 billion on lobster, fruit baskets, and a Japanese flute, including a $50 billion spending spree in one freaking day. They over there in the Defense Department spending money like fucking drunken sailors. No offense to y'all in the Navy, okay? But they over there spending money like freaking drunken sailors. Got the nerve to go back to Congress and say, we need $200 billion more for this war. While at the same time, 1/3 of Americans have indicated that they have to skip meals and other necessities in order to cover their healthcare costs. This motherfucker over there spending $93 billion on lobster. And 1/3 of Americans are skipping meals to cover healthcare costs. Now, let's think about this. This is that same administration that at the very beginning, when they first came in January, were firing all of these federal workers, canceling all of these contracts under the auspices that they were trying to save money. Now they're over here spending money like it ain't no tomorrow. I want you to understand that a part of what they're doing in a larger, if you take a step back and look at this from a larger sphere. Oh, one more thing about Hegseth. He also had the nerve to say at this press conference that Iran had been investing all of this money in its military capabilities instead of helping its people. What? Like, nigga, what? And I don't typically even use that word, but that deserved that. Like, what? If that ain't the pot calling the kettle black, my God, my God. So you're going to financially ruin hundreds of thousands of people around this nation under the auspices of trying to save money, yet you're going to spend in one freaking month $93 billion on extraneous shit that you didn't need. I didn't know that. So, wow. So another 22 employees from the Peace Corps were laid off on Friday. Golly. And Doge is not even supposed to be Doge is not even supposed to be comprised anymore. So this is probably just the government itself. That's horrible. I'm not surprised. That's the type of thing. See, that's the type of thing that evil people would do. Daryl said that they just laid off 22 employees from the Peace Corps Friday. Evil hates peace. So of course they would target the Peace Corps. Of course they would target USAID, which is about giving relief like food aid, medicine to people around the world. People have actually died. Tons of people actually died because of the elimination of USAID. Not even to mention the financial ruin that you may have thrust people into after being fired unceremoniously. Elijah, I do curse. I do. I now typically the only word that I don't typically say is in, but that one called for it. I don't typically say that. But I will say nothing else is off the table, hun. I will say though, it is really infuriating to me that they are about to ask Congress for $200 billion more in war funding. They have yet to admit to how much they've actually spent thus far. We only know how much they spent in the first 6 days, which was $12 billion. There is no end game. Like, what is the plan? We could be over there. You had Hegseth say in his last press conference, and I quote, "There is no time frame for ending the war." So they have money for wars. Endless money. There's no limit to it. Hundreds of billions of dollars for killing people. But when it comes to making sure that people can live, when it comes to funding people's health care, when it comes to make sure that people have food to eat, when it comes to making sure that people have an affordable place to live, all of a sudden, they ain't got no money. This is who they are. This is who they are. Remember that. Remember that in November. I will say this too. On a happy note, I just saw Trump's latest approval rating. Latest approval. He wants to break Americans. I agree. I think he's trying to break Americans. I also think, and here's my other theory. Once again, I have no evidence that I can point to. I'm just making a logical conclusion based on what I am seeing. I truly believe that given all of this that's happening, which is unsustainable, when you look at the level of debt that we have as a country and you look at who is holding the debt, okay, largely China, who one could say on a geopolitical stage is not our friend, all right? Although China is about it. I don't have no problem with China. Okay. I will say this. It appears to me as if Trump is intentionally trying to undermine the dollar. Right now, the dollar is the core currency through which international markets move. Like, it's based on the dollar. But when you continue to weaken the dollar in the way that he has and continues to do, I can imagine where there can be a situation where the dollar is no longer that. You know, if you guys have holdings of physical assets like gold, or if you're investing in gold and silver, you're seeing how the valuation of that is going up because the dollar itself is weakening. And now people around the world are seeing that they're getting concerned. Look at how our allies over in Britain, for example, has said, we're not even going to allow any transactions using Visa and MasterCard anymore. We don't even want to even use American companies. I mean, it's crazy. What if China one day decides they want to call in the debt? You know, after Mr. Idiot goes off on his tangents and trying to tariff everyone to death. And I will give it, China was standing on business from day one. They were like, well, who the fuck cares? We got plenty of America's only one country. We got plenty of other people we can trade with. And we've been here long before you, Mr. 250 years. That ain't nothing as compared to our history. Same thing is true with Iran. Been here thousands of years, gonna be here. They ain't going nowhere. We acting like 250 years is a long time. It ain't in the scope of world history. We fucking with Persia. I just want y'all to really get the depth of the history there. They were here long before us. They will be here after us. Same thing with China. So here we are making all these folks doing all this dumb, reckless things. Exactly right. Daryl is exactly right. He is forcing a geopolitical alignment of Nigeria, Somalia, Russia, and China, 7th largest oil reserves. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And once again, it's because, as was mentioned previously, the expertise is not in the cabinet. It's very interesting how when you get rid of DEI, also, it seems, the evidence is showing, you get rid of all the experts. Ain't that interesting? Ain't that interesting? I thought this was supposed to be the merit-based administration. And here, with no DEI, with everything supposedly based on merit, you have the highest concentration of idiots that we've ever seen in this nation's history when it comes to the world, and when it comes to our cabinet, our governing structures, our leadership. Ain't that interesting? Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention, because this is very important and hadn't gotten a lot of news. I'll probably write something about this. Hadn't gotten a lot of play. It came out in the news last week that for the first time in U.S. history, we've gone for the last, I want to say, year with zero job growth in America. You know how every month you get the job reports and it'll tell you how many jobs were created versus how many jobs were lost? Well, over the course of a year, you can do the math and say, okay, what is the net number? How many did we gain or how many did we lose? The typical history of the American economy is generally job growth over time goes up. There are dips along the way, but over the long term, it generally has been a continual straight ascent. For the first time since they've been taking those numbers, I don't know if I'll say through the American history, because they haven't been taking those numbers the entire time that America's been in existence. But since they've been calculating those statistics, which is a long ass time, we have zero job growth. Thanks, Trump. Was that what you meant when you said you wanted to make America great, where our economy is producing zero job growth? Where our gas prices have gone up 24% in 4 weeks. And let me just also say the gas prices is just the top. It's just one indicator, because fuel impacts everything. It impacts any airline tickets you about to buy. It impacts anything on the shelves that had to be shipped to the store that you're buying it from. Farmers are going to be spending more for fertilizer just because a lot of their fertilizer has to come through the Strait of Hormuz, and a lot of it's just not getting through. So what is on the market, the price will go up just by the law of supply and demand. Like, this is an economic catastrophe on a worldwide scale that this fool got us into without any strategic plan on how to get us out. Here's one thing that I will say, I've never been in the military, but I have enough common sense to know that if I am going to intentionally go into a dangerous situation, before I enter that dangerous situation, I'm going to try to think through 3 or 4 moves ahead to try to figure out how I'm going to get my ass out. I'm just not going to run into a building not knowing where the exits are. Especially if I didn't have to run into a burning building, especially if I didn't have to run into the burning building in the first place. There was no reason for us to be there. It's crazy. It's crazy. We are looking at something tragic. And the farmers who voted for you know what? That's true. The sad part, honestly, it's bad to say it, but I don't even care about the farmers who voted for this. It's really mean to say that, y'all. I'm sorry. But I don't. because they don't care about me. They voted for this precisely because they don't care about me or care about people that look like me. They don't even care about the people that were in their own fields that they were paying next to nothing to work for their asses, dumbasses. Now Trump just came out the other week and said, well, we need to do something about getting more migrant workers. You think? Once again, another example about how you don't think about things before you do shit. One thing that situation has taught us, and this also, let's think about history. This nation has never existed without slave labor or as close as you can get to slave labor. It's never been able to exist without the severe economic exploitation of a particular class of people. It never has. And if they didn't think about that before they started this mass deportation thing, they done fucked around and found out. So I don't feel sorry for him. I really don't, because they voted for it. He didn't. Now that's one thing where he didn't lie. He ain't stutter. He had a whole convention where they had thousands of people there with signs up saying mass deportation now. What the fuck did they think was going to happen? And they had the evidence of what he did in his first term, where he also had tariffs that hurt their supply chains. And what they had to do then was they had to provide subsidies to farmers because they had killed their ability to sell their crops. So, welfare, anyone? People who supposedly hate welfare, you don't have a problem with sticking your hand out for farm subsidies based on policies by someone who undermined your business, but that you voted for him to actually undermine your business. So after he undermined your business the first time he was in office, you gonna now vote for his dumbass again and expect me to feel sorry for you? I think the fuck not. Absolutely not. They sure are. Yeah, they complain about welfare for everybody else. They complain about welfare for people who don't look like them. But what's funny is that, honestly, if you look at the stats, the majority of people on welfare in America are black, are white, are white, even though the face of welfare that people that politicians especially try to run on in terms of political ads and things like that is always the face of a black woman. But the majority of people on welfare, just by the numbers, are white. The majority of people on food assistance are white. Y'all remember when they had the other government shutdown and you had all these lines of people at food banks? Remember what they looked like? I'm just saying. That's how it's be. Good point. So here's one thing. I'm glad you said that, Mom, because I now that we're talking about this, in all seriousness, we need to be prepared. So here's some things that you need to do. Get plenty of water at your house right now. One thing I will say about Iran, they are very well known to have really good people who are well versed in the potential of cyber warfare, meaning that they could connect with some of our institutions here to undermine things. Like, I would argue one of the reasons why I think it's stupid for Trump to even threaten their electrical grid, basically, there is the fact that doesn't he realize that they could take down our electrical grid if they wanted to? They don't have to be here physically. They don't have to drop a bomb to do that. They could just hack into systems and make it happen. So I am suggesting, honestly, the vast majority, people don't even realize that is a very well-educated populace. That's the part of the world where algebra came from. Okay. So I want you to understand, these are smart people, unlike the people that we got in charge, but that's a whole nother story. So what you need to do to be prepared for yourself and your family, make sure you have plenty of water at your house at all times. I want you to be able to at least have a few days worth of water for each and every person in your family that you just keep in your pantry or in your garage or someplace. Start to get extra cans of food, like food that you can keep at your house where you can have it there in case there might be a disruption of some sort where you need to go a few days without being able to access food or water. I want you to keep flashlights with fresh batteries in your house right now. Like, I'm just think about what would happen if you had to go an extended time without power, without the ability to have your refrigerator, without the ability to be able to cook something on your stovetop, without the ability to have any of those things. How would you survive? I need you to be prepared as if it might happen, because I'm hoping that it won't. But I'd rather you be prepared and it doesn't happen than you not be prepared and it does happen. I also want you to think about your children. And if you have children that are potentially in the age range for a draft, I need you to think creatively about, okay, what do I need to do to protect my children? All I'm going to say is this. If Trump could find a way to be diagnosed with damn bone spurs 5 fucking times, finish the sentence. I'm sure you can figure out ways in which you can document things with your children to keep them safe. That's all I'm saying. I don't trust these motherfuckers. No further than I can throw them. So at this moment, your priority needs to be protecting you, your family, your children, your people. Because trust and believe, they ain't going to look out for you. They're not. You have to be prepared to look out for yourself. All right. And we know Cheeto failed algebra. We sure do. Ain't that right, Patrick? And then on that Tupac quote, we got money for war, but can't feed the poor. Ain't that the truth? Absolutely true. Absolutely true. You're right, Thomas. I wish we could with this little bloated ass. He too much bunk to go, though. That's it, you guys. I better go. This was really good. I enjoyed talking to y'all. It always gets me in a better mood, even if it feels like I'm complaining the whole time. It always gets me in a good mood to chat with you all, to see how you all are doing out there, and just to share what little knowledge I have about what's going on right now with you. I just want to keep you abreast of the things as they happen. And I want you to start to think about what you can do to be prepared in this moment, because as I mentioned, who knows what the future holds given the idiots that we have in charge. And if we're in a situation, thank you, Stacy. If you're in a situation where you need to make sure that your children are okay and you're okay, you need to prepare for it before the time gets here. All right. I want to read this from a veteran here. Let me see. Dr. Avis, I've been saying the same things about the despicable Trump since 1971, and he has made it easier for the KKK, you're exactly right, to come out in the open without their hoods and spew their bigotry and hatred since he was running for office the first time until the president. You are exactly right. Exactly right, Gerald. Your recommendations for preparing for any kind of disaster is spot on. As a veteran of the Marine Corps, I have been doing this for a number of years. Right on. I love that. Thank you, Gerald. We need to follow your example. Let's all get it done. Let's need to be prepared for our families, and make some plans. If there are people in your communities where you all can band together to protect one another, it's just never too early to have those types of talks and discussions. Okay. All right. With that said, thank you, Edwin. I appreciate it. He says I'm educating, not complaining. That makes me feel better. I appreciate it, you guys. I hope y'all have a wonderful afternoon, and I will be back later. I'm gonna try to be better about developing a specific day and time, and when I do, I will let you know. All right. With that said, y'all have a wonderful afternoon and enjoy the rest of your week. Take care, everybody. Bye. You're welcome. Bye.